Ronald, this is Dr. Badur. I've just started the arthroscopic evaluation of your shoulder. I've just placed the arthroscope in the shoulder and am just beginning to look around at the different structures in the shoulder. I thought I would make this video for you so that you would have a better understanding of the shoulder and the injury and the surgery to repair the injury or the tear. I'm going to start with some normal parts of the shoulder. I've got a little needle here that I'm using as a pointer. This is the ball of your shoulder. I'm sliding the needle across the top of it. The ball, this is the top of it. This is the central part of the ball, and this is the lower part, and the ball looks very smooth as it should. To the right of the video, this is the socket. This would be the top of the socket here, and this would be the front edge of the socket here. This is coming down, and then this is the bottom of the socket, and then coming back up. The socket itself looks very smooth. You'll notice this frayed tissue here. This is part of the tear of the labrum that we've talked about in the office. So this is all labral tissue here, and you can see the tear right in here. So we'll get a better, well-defined look at this in a little bit after we clean this up. Connected to the labrum is this structure here that you see in the front of the video. This is the biceps tendon. It is anchored up at the top of the shoulder where the labrum is, and then it comes out across the top of the ball and exits the shoulder. The biceps tendon itself looks very healthy. To the left of the biceps tendon is the rotator cuff tissue. So all this tissue you see here, that's very smooth looking, that's the rotator cuff. The rotator cuff appears to be perfectly intact. So the main thing appears to be this tear of the labrum here that we're now going to treat. I'll be turning the video on and off as I have things I want to show you that are pertinent. So I'm turning the video off now for a minute, and then we'll bring it back on shortly. Ron, I'm now bringing a small shaver into your shoulder. You'll see it coming in, the metal device. And what I'm going to do is trim out this bad labral tissue here that is not going to heal, all the frayed stuff. And then we'll trim it back to the healthy tendon that has a better chance of healing. So we'll just kind of shave this down. This will also help to visualize the repair easier. Now at this point here, the labrum is not torn, so the tear is in this area here up to this area here. This little flap of tear also will not heal, so we'll trim that out. This potentially can get trapped into the shoulder between the ball and socket, and that could be part of the pain that you've been experiencing. Now let's have the smaller shaver. We can see a little better now. This is the labrum, and it's torn, and we'll anchor this down to the top of the socket better. And part of that is going to be preparing the bone just above the socket, just underneath the labrum, is going to be preparing that bone to heal this labral tissue. So to help accomplish that, I'm bringing in a slightly smaller shaver that we're going to bring right up above the socket and right underneath the labrum. And we're just going to kind of very slowly and gently go underneath this labral tissue to expose the bone underneath. This will create a lot of debris floating around the shoulder, which will occasionally suction out. We'll stop once in a while and take a look at what we're doing. Now we're beginning to see the bone in the area underneath the labrum on top of the socket. We're starting to see that a little more clearly. Okay, so I'm going to turn the video off now. As we get prepared for the next step, then I'll bring it back on. Ronald, I've now brought a guide into the shoulder joint. This is a drill guide, and we're going to place it over the top of the socket underneath the labral tear, and we'll hold it there in place. And now in just a second, you'll see coming into the video, you'll see a drill, and we're going to move it over just a little bit. That's good. Okay, now we're going to drill a hole here. Go ahead. This will create a bone socket. Good. Go ahead. Okay. Now we have a hole in the bone. That's a bone socket. And the next thing you'll see is the actual anchor. It's a little white threaded structure. You'll see it coming into view. Okay. And now we're going to tap that into place. Slow. Okay, a little bit more. Good. Okay. And just a little bit more tap. Great. Okay. Now that anchor is on a handle, which I'm going to pull out of the shoulder, and you'll see a blue suture coming out of the bone hole. And that suture eventually will put around the labrum to tie it down, back down to the socket. So I will turn the video off again while we get ready for the next step. So now, Ronald, I've passed one end of the suture through the labrum, and I'm pulling all the slack out of it. Great. And loopy. Okay, hold the camera. And now I'm retrieving the other end of the suture. And we now have a suture going through the anchor, both above and below the labrum. And in a minute we'll tie that. to secure the labrum down to the bone. Okay, I'll turn the video back off and bring it back on in a minute. Okay, Ronald, we've placed one anchor and we've placed a suture around the labrum. Now, the tear seems big enough that I feel like I need a second one, so I've brought the guide, the drill guide, back in, and we're going to bring the drill in, again coming over the top of the socket, and now we're going to create a drill hole here.
Can you keep going?
A little more, yeah. Okay, that's good. Now it's slow. Okay, so we've created a new socket. You can see it there. Now we'll bring in a second anchor. You'll see the white threaded anchor, and we're going to tap this in place. Go ahead. That should be good. So now that anchor's in place, and we'll slide the handle off. Okay. And once again, you'll see the blue suture that is now anchored in the bone. Okay. Greeny. Now bring a little device that we call a cannula. It's a little clear tube. Bring it into the shoulder. And bring in a retriever. It's a little grasping device. Okay, just pull back on this a little bit. And we'll bring this up, and let's see, it might help to tilt it down. And we'll retrieve one end of the suture. We'll take that out of the shoulder. Okay, now we're going to turn the video off again for a second and reposition the scope. I've now repositioned the scope so that we're looking more from a front view. I'm coming in with the retriever, and we'll take out the other strand of the second anchor. Okay. And now outside of your shoulder, I'm loading this anchor in a little device that will carry the suture through the labrum, bring it into the shoulder. Let's see, let's put a stopper in there. Okay. Getting it in just the position that I'll be happy. Now passing the suture through the labrum. And then pulling it through the labrum. Okay. Kingfisher. And now reaching in to grasp and retrieve that suture strand all the way through the labrum. Loopy. So now the suture's passed through the labrum, and we'll come back and get the other strand here. And now I'll tie the second one, and then we'll tie the first one. Okay, this is a little knot pusher, we call it. Outside of your shoulder, I've thrown a loop into the knot, and I'm bringing the loop into the shoulder. This can be a little hard to visualize on the video. Bringing in the second throw. Starting to create a knot here to hold the labrum down to the socket. This takes a minute to get this knot tied. Bring another throw down. So that is the first knot tied, and now I will remove the extra suture. Got a little cutting device that will come down into the shoulder. So there's the first knot tied. Okay, now I'm going to turn the video off for a minute and reposition the scope and tie the second knot. Now while I'm retrieving the other strands from the first anchor, remove the hemostat. And now we'll tie this up. And now bringing back into the shoulder the knot pusher, you can see the loop there. And we will bring that over the top of the labrum. And now bringing a second throw, you can see the throw there. We'll cinch it down. And now another throw. Again, there it is. Cinching it down. And we'll just continue this process until we have a completed knot. And one final throw. And now bringing back into your shoulder the cutting device. And so there is the completed repair, although I think I can show this to you a little bit better from a different angle. So this is the second knot I tied. This is the first knot I tied. This is the labrum here. This is the top of the socket here, and it seems to have cinched it down nicely. I am going to turn the video off for a second and reposition the scope and let you have another look at it. Ronald, now looking from the back of the shoulder, looking forward. This is the repair of the labrum. Again, the two sutures here and here, holding the labrum down to the socket. So I feel like that will do well for you, and we're going to turn the video off now. We've finished the surgery and let you go to the recovery room and get awake, and I hope you've enjoyed watching the video.